The following program is a PodcastOne.com production.
From Hollywood, California, by way of the Broken Skull Ranch, this is the Steve Austin Show.
Give me a hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Now, here's Steve Austin.
Here we are. For all intrinsic purposes, I'm in Los Angeles. He's in Thunder Bay, Ontario. Vampiro, welcome to the show, man, and it's good to talk to you. You got a hellacious story, and congrats on a badass, bust-ass match on the season finale with Pentagon Jr.
Thank you very much, man. Like I said last night on Twitter, I'm kind of freaking out. I'm marking out right now. Steve Austin. Sorry, brother, but, you're a big deal, bro.
Oh, man, I tell you what, I had a good time during my run, but, I mean, hell, you've had just as interesting a run as I did. But before we get into your career and just shooting the shit back and forth, I want to go back to your match at Ultima Lucha with Pentagon Jr., and it was a badass match, and here's what I was thinking going in, okay? I knew that Vampiro, the wrestler, the luchador, hadn't been in the ring in a long-ass time. All of a sudden, he's in this match with this young cat, about 5-6 years in the business, who can really go. Pentagon Jr.'s got a great gimmick, great work inside the ring. I was thinking, man, how are they going to work this thing? And, dude, y'all cranked out a fucking killer match. What brought up this match? What made you decide to have this one match?
Well, like you, I'm sure, you always got that, you got one more in you, right? You never know when you always want to do one more. You get that itch. And I always got that itch. When I was watching that kid, and he wasn't getting it. He was about to drop the ball.
What was he not getting? What was he not getting?
Just how to transmit the violence, the aggression, how to tell a story, how he was falling into the trap of a lot of Mexican boys in the company of the United States. They try to play to the crowd like they do in Mexico.
Right.
A lot of gestures, a lot of interaction, a lot of looking to the crowd like, hey, pat me on the back, I just did a good move. And I told the staff, I told DJ Chris Joseph, I said, this fucking guy is about to drop the ball. Please, can I go above and beyond the Call of Duty here? And the little bit that I know, I think that I can help, guide this kid and make him happen. And they let me have that chance. And I started talking to him and telling him certain things. I told him 2 or 3 different things to do, changed his career. And I said, I think it made him a major player to come. And I think the kid's going to be a huge star. So there was a moment that there was a big name who came into our company, into Lucha Underground. I'll tell you off the air, he was a big star. He is a big star, but he didn't want to do a job and put this kid over.
Right.
I suggested that he did. I said, you're going away for a month. This guy's making sacrifices. Fucking give him the rub, man. You're not even going to be here, but help build somebody so that you can beat somebody later on. Didn't want to do it. So I said to Chris Joseph, I said, this kid needs to beat a major player to become a major player.
Right.
And that's kind of like how it all started out, bro.
But why did you handpick this kid? I mean, and I agree with all of the qualities you just mentioned about the kid. I mean, he does great, solid work. He's got a killer gimmick. I love the look. So what was it about this kid that you said, hey, man, this is the guy. I've got to help this guy? Because you cut several promos, and I'll mention some of the links here as we go along. But if you go to YouTube, you talked about how you got your start, and we'll get that in a minute. But you said our job now is to mentor and train the younger generation. And, and it was you alluded to the match that would end up transpiring, the match with Pentagon Jr., and so part of your mantra is you've got to teach these young guys, the work that goes into the business. Because as I look into the WWE, many times I see the same thing. It's not just with the Mexican guys over in Lucha Underground. It's within the talent of WWE trying to work the crowd for a quick pop, trying to pander to the crowd. Pat me on the back, I just did something, instead of putting the work in and getting the bigger payoff.
Unfortunately, there are not a lot of guys who build the pyramid from the bottom to get to the point. They start with the point on the bottom, and they go for the bigger picture too quick. You kind of know what I'm saying, right?
Right.
He didn't. Look, man, you and I and everybody else who's been in this business, who's ever made it, always had somebody who gave us a hand up. you gotta be fucking cool and give back to the business. You can't forget those who came before you, because it wasn't too long ago, man, when I was selling programs and sweeping up the ring, or doing 9-to-5 shit jobs, or begging for somebody to look at me, putting my time in the gym, hoping that when wrestling came through town, I would go there like every other fucking wannabe bodybuilder and have my little moment of sunshine, and somebody would look at me. You gotta be cool, man. And I've been in that position, and somebody gave me help, and I had a career out of it. You gotta be cool and give back. And I just saw it in this guy, and I just saw that he has nothing but potential. And it's like this, man. If he becomes a star, company continues on TV, I got a job just that much longer, right?
Right.
Wrestling's a dying art, man. And the old school system of back from 1920s all the way up today, it's a dying art. And there's not a lot of old-time guys left who teach that culture of how to be a professional athlete in the ring. And if you have it, you got to pass on the torch. If you don't, the business is going to die.
Hey, you know, in this match, if you go to YouTube and you just type in Ultima Lucha Part 2, Vampiro versus Pentagon Jr. Sierra Miedo match, which means basically anything goes, falls count anywhere, no disqualification. And it's about the time code is 16 minutes and 44 seconds. If you haven't seen this match, you've got to see this match just because it's just a great story. And here's a guy who's been in the business over 30 years and hadn't been in the ring for quite some time. And the way you pace this, and of course with him jumping you as you were playing to the crowd, just making that entrance, he jumps you from behind with that steel chair. So he's on offense, you're on defense, and it's, you know right away it's not going to be spot fest city, because that's not what you're there for. And you
Nope.
kept the pace. He gets all this shit in. You shine with the offense when you've got to, and then y'all build to a climactic finish. When you decided to come out with the robe and the purple gimmick and holding that thing on the chain, dude, the crowd from the word go, you know when you go into a building and you own it right off the bat, due to your long history in the business, people just ate your entrance up. Was it how good did that feel when you just knew you had them in the palm of your hands before you even started?
Oh, well, this is probably one of the only times that I've broken the cardinal rule and didn't follow the script, so to speak. I sat on those steps. You just said that match was 16 minutes. It was edited down, brother. It was close to 30 minutes,
wow.
Man, that match live. Yeah. I soaked that up, and there's a reason for it. And my job that night was to put that kid in the main event status. And when I came out, and I came out as the Pope and all that kind of stuff,
right.
And just the building was shaking.
I could feel it.
The foundation was moving, bro. So I said to myself, even though we have this was supposed to be a gimmick match, Vampiro's coming off the table for a couple minutes. I said to myself at that moment, I have to convince these people as a shoot that this is the real thing, because the Vampiro character is kind of iconic, because I broke off into ghost hunting TV shows and my work with the Guardian Angels and the martial arts and all bullshit. So I kind of got like this little history going on that I've legitimatized myself outside of wrestling. So I'm just not going to do a job in 6 minutes.
Right.
This kid had to fucking beat me down, and I had to keep coming back and coming back and coming back. And when I came back, just like the Evil Dead, when you rise up, that kid beats you after you have risen, that just makes him more immortal in the eyes of the world, right? And you had to be there, because when he pinned me, the place went crazy. But when I said, "You done well," my whole philosophy of the match was the samurai culture. The samurai student has to beat the master to become an official samurai. When I had that in my mind when I was putting this match together, and I knew I was going over my time limit, I did it for a reason, because the story needed to be told in order to have any credibility. And I think we did it, obviously.
Dude,
Does that make sense?
Oh yeah. Part of the match, a big part of the match, when he gives you the press, it's kind of like a modified slam onto the concrete floor. He throws the chairs on you, he's beating the shit out of the chairs. I'm watching the action right now. And then he starts choking you with a cable cord. Okay, man, Matt Stryker does a tremendous job with Michael Chavella calling this match. And he says, man, can we go to a commercial break because it's hard to watch. And because the violence has turned up so high, all of a sudden they carry you out on a stretcher. But God damn it, you fight your way off the stretcher and go back to the ring. That spirit of Vampiro, that fighting spirit, the pride just won't go down. And you pop the shit out of them. And so y'all continue the match. And then finally you bust out those fluorescent tubes. Those were wonderful. Now I would imagine, aren't those things kind of pretty fucking dangerous to work with?
Yeah.
They goddamn worked like a charm, though. They were magnificent.
Brother, they fucking sting so much. They burn because of the mercury, right?
Right.
And they fucking sting. But I thought to myself, look at Lucha Underground. Probably the most revolutionary wrestling company on the air right now, whether you like it or not, right? And there's not a lot of times in the wrestling world, as you should know, that you can really do something innovative. We got fucking guys that are doing flips out of the ceiling. So I thought to myself, what can I do to make this kid look better than everybody? It was make him the most violent, do the most violent things. Light bulbs are pretty cool. And the fucker broke it on I said, don't hit me in the eye, please. I said, hit me around the temple, because that's what's going to bleed really good. There's a vein there. And everybody was looking at me like, what the fuck are you talking about? I said, don't worry about it. Just do it. So that's how it went, bro.
Hey, whose idea was the thumbtacks? Because a long time ago, I was involved with a match with Mick Foley, who I love, and he suggested the thumbtacks, and I was like, hey, man, maybe not so much. He ended up using them with The Undertaker in a Hell in a Cell match, and it was, just this incredible, crazy, wonderful match. So all of a sudden, I see you bust out the bag of tacks, and I'm thinking, because I wrestled right after they did that match, and I got a bunch of thumbtacks in my ass and my shoulders and stuff like that. Was that your idea?
Yeah, it was, because I thought to myself, let's go step by step. Pull it out of the bag. Do the violence first. When you slammed me on the floor, I said, pull the mats out. He said, you're going to hurt yourself. I said, that's the whole point. Pull the fucking mats out and slam me on the floor and beat me with those chairs. They cut that down. He said, how many times do I hit you with the chairs? I said, you hit me with those fucking chairs until your arms are sore. And that was that whole spot. That was about 8 minutes there, beating me with those chairs. That's why they put me on the stretcher.
Oh.
So, yeah, they cut that down, bro. He beat the fuck out of me. So I thought to myself, okay, I come back off the stretcher, people are going to think we're going home. When you pull out that little trick, and then you pull out the lights 2 or 3 later, it's kind of like you're building it. You're going in layers, right? You're climbing the mountain to that peak. So it's kind of like a horror movie. Is he behind door number 1? Is the axe going to fall on his head behind door number 2 type thing? So I was trying to picture it like a horror movie live, right?
Right.
So that was why that happened. And it was exactly because of Mick Foley. I saw him do it in Japan. We were in Japan years ago. And I said, hey, brother, sometime in my life, I'm probably going to steal that shit from you. And he just laughed. And he said, go ahead. And I had the idea in that match. They didn't show it on TV. He stomped my head into the thumbtacks.
Right.
But I put a lot of them in my mouth.
Right.
So I was spitting thumbtacks out like they went through my cheek type thing, right?
Oh, Jesus. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was for that effect.
Another one of my favorite spots of that match, which was very simple but just so violent and graphic. He gets one of the ends of this fluorescent tube and he's gouging it on your head, and it shows a cutaway to the audience, and there's this young lady, and she's just like shrieking in horror because she can't believe the carnage. And then he steps away and just peppers you with some real vicious right hands, and you're on your hands and knees. The facials are tremendous, and you're taking a hell of a pounding. That was just some classic great shit.
Well, she shrieked in horror because I flashed my penis, and it was really small, and it scared the shit out of her.
And then he kicks you in the head. I'm sitting there watching the match, but the people are going crazy. And so let's talk about this, Vampiro, as we go into the finish. You go out, you've reversed the tables, you turn the tables on him, you got him with the fluorescent tubes. And then so you've got I'm watching it right now. You've got the table in the ring. You're lighting it on fire. Boom, the thing goes up. He catches you under the armpit, reverses you. Boom, stop, drop, and roll. How was getting caught on fire? Because, I mean, I know you got your fire extinguishers there, but how was that?
It sucked a lot.
Did you get burned?
Another thing. Oh, fuck yeah. But you know what? It's all for the love of the game, right? See, they cut that out, too. You didn't see what happened before that. We lit that fucking table on fire on the floor, and we were teasing it. So he was, like, singeing my face in it.
Right.
And all that kind. We were going back and forth. So once we got it back in the ring, that's why there's that little lull. Because people are like, now what are these two fucking guys going to do? I said to the stunt people, you know, you make sure you give me the right lighter fluid here. Don't give me that fucking octane gasoline that goes to the ceiling.
Right.
Oh, no. So look at the match, brother. I turned that fucking thing on, and I turned my head over my shoulder, and the flames are almost touching to my you know, they're like 4 feet high, and I'm like, oh, fuck, this is going to hurt so much. And he slammed me through the table, and I caught on fire, and I was like, I just was so ecstatic. I didn't even feel the pain. I burnt my ear and my arm and all that, but I said to myself, we did it. We got him.
So he pins you for the 1, 2, 3 out there on the floor because it falls down anywhere. Okay.
No, I couldn't get up. That's why.
Is that a shoot?
Yeah, I got too tired.
Okay, so then tell me, because are you shooting with me? Or you working me?
No, I was shooting you, man. I said, fucking pin me here, man. I just put my arm off.
It was great. So the finish goes down there, but give me the backstory on the promo here, because, you know, he's talking about, Master, he did what he said he was going to do, and then you grab the stick and do what?
Okay, well, the whole thing is, because I told you, we were trying to figure out how to build this kid up all season long. So you got me being the rebellious guy on the microphone, you know, one of the first announcers to cuss a little bit on the air and make fun and do these stupid jokes and be a wise ass, and which I got from you and Roddy Piper, by the way. And then, because I remember you doing an in-ring promo with Roddy Piper. You remember that when he says, I had the red on my neck is a lot older than you. You remember that?
Yeah. Been a while.
Yeah, well, because I tried this. I've never been on the mic before. Matt Stryker was a pro. I love him to death. And I tried to figure out how the fuck am I going to do this. So I remember when you said you found the idea, you know, this serial killer type guy for your character.
Right.
I remember that in-ring with Roddy Piper, and Piper was my babysitter in WCW. I said, I got to mix that and kind of make it my own. So I was doing that all year round, and Pentagon kept doing these violent matches, and we came up with the idea, let's make him do sacrifices and just break people's arms. So after about 8 weeks, it was like, who the fuck is he doing this to? And he kept saying, Master, Master, Master. Now, being the dark guy 20 years ago,
right.
There came a time in the show where I had a flashback, started hearing voices in my head. I go up in the ring and save a girl, because Pentagon was going to break her arm, and then he starts getting in my face, saying that I'm the ultimate prize, the big dark guy, the original sin. I want to fucking go after him. So he makes the promise to his master, I'm going to get this guy to come out of retirement. Somehow I'll threaten his family, I'll threaten his daughter, I'll do whatever the fuck I got to do. So I turn him down. We do a shoot interview. I apologize. He comes on TV. I'm doing the show. He kicks me in the head and dumps gasoline on me. He says, motherfucker, you got 1 week to give me your answer. I'm coming after you or your family. So I come back in and say, I can't do it. Ian's not going to do it. I'm retired, this, that, the other thing. But the Vampiro will come and get you.
Right.
So that was the deal. So nobody knows who the fuck's his master. So again, I gave them the idea of the samurai thing, that you got to beat the original master to become an official samurai.
Right.
And so he beats me 1, 2, 3, jump in the ring. I start yelling. I said, you're not done. Make the sacrifice. Break my arm. So he pops my arm out. I stand up and I say, I hear you've been looking for me. The fucking place went, what? You could have heard a pin drop, brother.
Yeah.
You had to be there. And I said, I just wanted to tell you, I think you're ready now, my son. Boom. And we hit him with, I was the master.
Dude, the people went crazy. The building came unglued. I was sitting there watching. It gave me goosebumps. I've seen the match 4 times. It paid off big. So congratulations. I want to give a shout out to Pentagon Jr. He worked his ass off in that match just as well. But goddamn, I think it was off the charts. Yeah, I enjoyed the shit out of it, dude. The one time you had him in position, the thumbtacks were in the ring. You did the backflip off the turnbuckle, intending on landing on Pentagon Jr., who moves. You go right into the thumbtacks, and of course they got the camera right under your face, and you go, "Fuck."
Yeah, I was like, I gotta love the game, right? Because this thing, they fucking hurt, man. Everybody, all these hardcore kids that say they don't, yeah, they do. Of course they do.
Hey, before we start talking about your start down there in Thunder Bay and what got you into business, what is the future of Lucha Underground? I was just on Twitter, and goddamn, this conversation was sparked by a conversation we had on Twitter. Now I'm hearing a Netflix movement for Lucha Underground. What's the story on that, or what do you know about it that you can say?
I was just about to say something. If you would let me really quick.
Absolutely.
I want to say thank you to Chris, to Joseph, and of course, Eric. The staff really trusted me with this angle with Pentagon, and they gave me a new life, man, because I was done with wrestling. Vampiro's been out of wrestling forever. I was never that good of a wrestler. They believed in me, Eric and Chris, the Joseph, and they just let me kind of run with this, and thanks to those guys, that angle came off. Believe me, Pentagon, he carried the ball. I was just there, and it was a big team effort. So it wasn't me, man. It was the whole team. You know what I'm saying?
Well, yeah, I can understand.
A lot of guys don't want to say, you know what I mean. A lot of guys don't want to say that, Steve. They're all full of shit, and they want to take the credit. You can't do that, man. You got to say it what it is, right?
Yeah, you're right about that. But, I mean, there was the work of a wily veteran who'd been around the horn who put this match together. And Pentagon Jr. obviously carried his end of the deal with a very high fashion. But, dude, you had to set the table with all the years that you put in the business. And the fact that they gave you creative freedom, agreed to some of your ideas, you extended the time, did what you did, get this kid over. It all I'll move on from the match right now because I don't want to beat a dead horse. But if you got YouTube, you need to go check out this match just because if you want to learn about this business, talk about psychology in the business, watch Vampiro sell the facials. Shit, watch Pentagon sell. Watch both of them. It's just a hell of a damn match. And really, there's some high-impact bumps, and I guess we probably saw, half of the match according to, what you said, 30 there in the building, 16 and a half is on YouTube. But it was just very, very well executed, and the place was just absolutely crazy. And when you can own a crowd like that, that crowd is invested in those two characters and the story, dude, there's no better feeling in the world. Let me ask you this. 30-some-odd years in the business, you've been all around the world. You spent a bulk of your career in Mexico City and Mexico in general. But when you come out of the ring after this at 48 years old, with all the miles you've got on you, how were you feeling? You had to be on, cloud 9. How long did it take you to come down from this match?
I didn't get excited about it until I saw the response on YouTube. When it was done, I went straight to the dressing room. I looked at my ear that was burned off, and I looked at all the glass sticking out of my head, and I said, fuck, at least I can still walk. So I thought I was going to have a heart attack out there. And I went up to Pentagon, and he was crying, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I was like, brother, I told you. And I said, congratulations. I said, this is your time. Come to me. We're friends now. Let me help you. I said, you did the right thing. I didn't, you know what I mean? I wasn't on no cloud 9, man. It was his time. It was Lucha Underground's time.
But goddamn, as a performer, though, to own those people and the bases were loaded and you hit a grand slam, that didn't resonate with you on a personal level. Did you not realize that at the time? I
realized it. I had my moment when I was standing on the stairs in my entrance when the place was going fucking bananas.
Yeah.
That was it. After that is, look, the company came through strong, and I kept my head and my feet on the ground, my head on my shoulders, and I just, I had work to do. I had to go back and age in another match, and that was it, man.
Hey, with the pacing of this match, how were you cardio-wise and bump-wise with respect to all the shit you've done in your past career?
Cardio was kind of weird. because those guys, you see their speed, they're just everywhere.
Oh yeah.
And but timing wise, I felt like I was, it was pretty good. When he slammed me on the floor, I was like, oh my fucking God, what am I doing here? I was like, oh fuck, this is going to be a long fucking night. But then as soon as I got hit in the face with the glass and I started bleeding and I tasted my own blood, I was pretty much digging it. I was having a good time.
When you went to the back, did the boy? I mean, so a lot of times if you go in WWF back in the day, man, when you knocked it out of the park, I mean, like when I came back through the curtains at WrestleMania 13, I mean, people were actually clapping, and because they knew we knocked it out of the park. Bret Hart and myself. What was the feeling backstage when you walked back there? I mean, Chris Joseph and all those guys, Eric, they had to have been going ape shit because it was that.
Oh yeah. There was a couple guys in the dressing room that had tears in their eyes. Guys who had grown up being my fans that are now there. Some guys had tears in their eyes. Some guys were like, I can't believe you just did that for him. Like, holy fuck, you didn't just call it in. You risked it. You said you're crazy with all your injuries and all the things that you've been through. How could you do that? It was a pretty special moment. It was really, really bonding. It was great. But again, I didn't pop until I saw the response on the internet. And then when I saw that you retweeted it, I fucking phoned Chris Joseph and I phoned Eric. And I said, did you see Steve Austin? He put it over. And I was just going nuts, man. So I was more excited about your tweet than the actual aftermath of the match. I don't know if that makes sense, but it's true, bro.
Well, I mean, it was that good of a deal, and I love the payoff at the end, the break the arm spot, and then the promo. But anyway, let's move on. I'll tell you what we're going to do. I'm going to take a quick break here, get a word from our sponsors to keep the show on the air for free. I'm going to come back. We're going to talk with Vampiro, whatever he wants me to call him. I'm calling him. Hell, I might get color during the commercial break. But when we come back, we'll talk about his early start in Thunder Bay. I know he's told his story a million times. Well, but you haven't all heard his story, so I'm gonna get the beginnings of Vampiro's career and meeting up with a guy named Abdullah the Butcher and being around the road with people like Bruiser Brody and other legends, Rick Martel from way back in the day, and what they taught him as a youngster in the business. I'm coming right back with the one and only Vampiro.
The Steve Austin Show. The Steve Austin Show.
Do you own a home or condo? Or perhaps you rent a house or apartment? Sure you do. And Geico knows it can be hard work. Because whether you own or rent, you still have to fill it full of your stuff. Your furniture, the flat screen, and all the boxes of stuff that have been sitting there ever since you moved in, but haven't unpacked. It's hard to find the time, right? But you know what's easy? Bundling policies with Geico. Geico makes it easy to bundle your homeowner's or renter's insurance along with your auto policy. That way, you'll rest easy knowing that your home and all your stuff is protected. Like the furniture and that flat screen. Plus, getting a quote on homeowners and renters insurance is super easy through Geico. It's a good thing, too, because you already have so much to do around your home. Like going through all those boxes of stuff. Visit geico.com, get a quote, and see how much you could save. It's Geico easy. Visit geico.com today. That's geico.com.
All right, I'm coming right back here. I'm talking to Vampiro. Dude, you're from Thunder Bay. I did all my research on you. It's a very loose conversation, but you basically broke into the business at age 16, correct?
Yeah, 15, 16.
Okay, yeah. Now what were you doing prior to that? Were you involved with organized sports in school?
Yeah, I was a hockey prodigy, being in Canada and stuff like that. And unfortunately, back then the rules were different for amateur sports. I was ready to go away and play, college level or semi-pro hockey when I was 13 because of my size and my ability and all that. And I was way ahead of other kids my age. It was really hard for me to stay focused. So when they wouldn't let me graduate to semi-pro, I just kind of fell off the face of the earth with hockey. I got really bored, and I was really more motivated by music. I was a bigger kid. I was the size I am now when I was like 11 and 12. I was like 6'3", 210 pounds. And so I didn't have a lot of friends because, people really treated me different because of my size and all that. And my family was really poor, so I was kind of really insecure. So I kind of buried myself in alternative music. Once I quit hockey, I was trying to find something to do in life, and I was floating around playing in bands, and I was getting into different music scenes in bigger cities. I'd moved away to Montreal, and I was hanging around the streets of New York City and all that kind of stuff. I was enamored enamored with the original origins of the late 60s, early 70s alternative music scene in New York City. I was a fan of Iggy Pop and the Stooges. I'm sure you've heard of them.
Right.
I would imagine the whole world knows who they are. But I'm not a fan of the Iggy Pop guy that's now. I was this monster who was a fiend, a drug fiend, a fucking monster on stage who was just raw energy exploding and loud, bare bones music that make your fingers bleed. That's what I was into. But I couldn't figure out what to do with all this athletic ability. I was heading down for a life of crime that wasn't going to pan out. Things were really getting kind of intense.
Now, when you
And
say
all
life
of
of
a sudden,
crime, what were you doing?
gangbanging and all that kind of stuff. And I was, I used to collect money when I was younger because I was so big, and I didn't like it. I used to cry all the time. They made me do it, but it was the only way I could make money. They used to beat me up after because I was like a big baby, and I would cry all the time. But I was going nowhere. Then all of a sudden, one day, I was watching TV, and I just heard the fucking beginnings of the song Iron Man. And I saw these two fucking guys come out, and it was wrestling. And we heard Iron Man, and the Road Warriors came out.
Oh, geez, what a visual! What a song! What a visual! What a combination!
This was in the AWA days,
Right.
and they come in the ring, boom, boom, power press, clothesline, they're gone. I was like, what the fuck was that? And that was it, bro. I said, I can take my athletic ability and my love and understanding of alternative music and culture, create something, and I bet you I can make it in pro wrestling. This was when Vince wasn't even on TV, man. This was when Vince was like local in New York. This was when Martel and Hanson and Jumbo Tsuruta were the guys in the AWA. Like, this is way back in the day.
But when you say you were in the music scene and with that kind of raw, that punk scene, what were you playing? Were you playing guitar? Were you singing?
Yeah, I was playing guitar. I played guitar in a lot of bands. And when you're in a bigger city and there's a music scene, you're either you do what it is. You set up posters, or you're a roadie one night, you're a musician the next. There was a big punk scene in Montreal at the time, and obviously in New York City. In the summer, we would all go down. And that's when, this is how old I am, this is when hip-hop culture was just starting, and hip-hop bands were friends with punk bands. This is when bands like of both genres of music would play the same night. No racial, nothing stupid. It was just something creative. And I was fell in love with that stuff. And we're talking, 78, 79, 80. The Clash, the Sex Pistols, the Ramones, Grandmaster Flash was just coming out. Block parties were just starting to happen. Mixtapes were just starting to get around. So I was like really, really young, man, and I kind of knew what I was going to do with my life.
But with respect to that music scene back then, now at age 48, what do you listen to?
Pretty much the same stuff. I think I associate pretty much everything I do in life to that period. Not so much because of the bands or the music, but because of the initial explosion of that creativity. I don't know if that makes sense. Because now, you can go Pro Tools, and you can make a band in your bedroom, and you can have a record album the same night, and you can pretty much do everything over the internet. You can watch YouTube. You don't have to dig for it. You don't have to earn it. You don't have to get your knees dirty. You don't have to scrape them. You know what I mean? You don't get nothing. You don't have to go out there and fucking put your time in and bleed and starve and sleep under a fucking car and, do petty crime and get shit done just so you can fucking make it. You don't have to cut your own clothes up. You can go on the Hot Topic and get your uniform. A lot of the new stuff, even like wrestling, you see it. Everybody looks the same, man, and you don't got to earn it anymore. And so I kind of stick to what I know and what's kind of brought me to the dance and kept me here.
Tell me about your bodyguard days with Milli Vanilli and how did this transpire? Because I know that when you decided to leave that line of work, you took that look with you to Mexico City. So how did you get the gig working with Milli Vanilli to begin with?
Well,
Vamp, let me go on record as saying this, dude. When Milli Vanilli had "Girl, You Know It's True," whatever the name of that song was, I was blaring that motherfucker on the radio. I thought those two guys were cool as shit. The way they everybody's lip syncing or whatever, but goddamn, that was some good shit back in the day. And I'm coming from a hard rock, country, and western background. I dug that one song that they had. How did you end up with those cats? Because they blew up.
Bro, let me tell you, man. I don't like that kind of shit, but we all like that song.
It was so catchy you could not like it.
Well, you got to remember. Let's do a little history here. You remember Terrence Trent D'Arby?
Yes.
Okay, he was the original Milli Vanilli. Look at the look he had before. He was a year and a half before those two guys came out. The nice, sharp Italian suit, the long braids.
Right.
He was the guy. These two fucking guys. I was working at a club in Los Angeles, and it was owned by Mickey Rourke and Billy Idol. The club was called Rubber. It was on La Cienega and Olympic. The building's not even there anymore. They changed it to some gas station or something like that. And I was staying at this guy's house with a friend of mine. He was an actor. You might remember him, Michael Pere, Streets of Fire. You remember that?
Yeah, man, I did a movie with him.
Okay, well, fuck. There you go. Well, Michael asked me to watch his house because he had just done Eddie and the Cruisers too in Canada.
Yeah.
So I came down to L.A., and Michael's girlfriend at the time worked in a talent agency that was managing Milli Vanilli. She came by the club one night and said, listen, I got these two guys. They're going on tour. They need somebody to babysit them. Are you interested in the gig? And that was how that happened. And I said, sure. I said, who are they? I said, Milli Vanilli. I said, I don't know what the fuck that is. Yeah, whatever, man. And so we go out to Bakersfield, California, and it's the start of the MTV tour.
Yeah.
Lisa and the Cult Jam, Paula Abdul, New Kids on the Block, Marky Mark. Like, what the fuck? Tone Loc. All these bands that you know from that era.
Yeah.
And Milli Vanilli. And I'm like, man, I like the Ramones. What the fuck is this? And I see these two guys that they were, whether you like it or not, and take it any way you want. They were fucking good-looking guys in person,
yeah.
let me tell you.
No doubt about it.
And, they're ripped to shreds. They got the long hair. Fucking girls are going, but Beatlemania. And
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, man, I'm your security. One guy answered me in French. The other guy answered me in German. And they have song sheets in their hand for the song Girl, You Know It's True.
Yeah.
And they're trying to read the words. So I stand back and I'm like, oh, wait a second. This fucking guy, French, this fucking guy over here is German. I said, this has got to be the biggest work. I said, because they don't even know the words of their own song. They're about to go on stage. So I'm sitting there trying to figure this shit out. All of a sudden, they're on stage, and in perfect English, they blast out their whole set. That was when I knew. I went, oh, my God, this is a fucking work. They don't even speak English. So then, that was my start to that whole scandal, and that's how it went down, bro. And they had on a nightly basis probably 4,000 to 5,000 of the best looking girls ever in the existence of the human race,
Right.
ready to do what they wanted to do under any circumstances. And it was like that for about 2 years, and it was just insane. It was insane, bro.
Okay, so you stayed with them for about 2 years?
Yeah, I stayed right from the beginning to the end.
Okay, so here's the deal. Man, you're immersed in the punk scene. All of a sudden, you're working bodyguard for two of the hottest cats with Milli Vanilli touring on the road. Dude, the party atmosphere in the business is what it is. And we ain't even got to Mexico City yet. So were you pretty wrapped up in the party scene at an early age with these acts that you were first playing on stage with in the punk scene and now touring with and being bodyguard in the pop scene? Because, dude, there's a lot of shit floating around.
There was a lot of shit. These motherfuckers did more coke. There was this Scarface, these two guys. They had mountains of cocaine, bro. They would fucking bathe in that stuff. And they were in Hollywood in the mid-'80s, bro. It was a different time. And I always knew that I was going to go to – I knew I was going to be a star in wrestling one day. That was in my head constantly. So I just kind of sat back And because these guys will get fucked up, so they would give me, their $20,000 Rolex watch and their wallet and all that kind of stuff, so nobody would rob them when they were high. And I just sat there and watched the elite of Hollywood in the mid-'80s do their thing, and I kind of used that as an education, going to school,
Wow.
how to treat people in the interviews and this, and the culture of getting into a limousine and showing up at an event and dressing right and making sure it's sharp and on point. And I used that as my schooling to get ready to attack the wrestling world as the Vampiro character, because at that point, Guns N' Roses had just come out, and LA Guns and all these bands that were really into the Anne Rice vampire books. So Hollywood was like Transylvania. So I loved that shit, because you can go and see Guns N' Roses at that time before they broke in the Cat House for like $10, $5,
right,
on a Tuesday night, right? You remember those days?
Yeah,
we're talking way the fuck back when. So I just said to myself, I got to do something, and I got Roy Orbison hair, like a fucking cotton candy. So I said, I got to do something about this lid, because everybody here has got long hair and bandanas. That's when I asked Milli Vanilli, and they're the first ones who braided my hair, and I got that look from them, and that was it.
No shit.
Yep.
So, dude, when did you leave Milli Vanilli and then get up to Montreal and start working and, basically setting up the ring and doing jobs?
Well, I did all that shit before. I did that when I was like 15. Milli Vanilli happened when I was like 19, turning 20-ish. I started working in Montreal when I was a kid, man. I started setting up the ring. That whole Abdullah story, that happened when I was like 14, 15.
What were you able to learn from a guy like Abby? Because we were talking on the phone the other day, and here was a guy who didn't take a whole lot of bumps. When he did, it meant something. Bladed a lot, told great stories, always had a ton of heat. And he'll go down as one of the greatest heels of all time and a big draw. What was Abby able to teach you, a young athletic cat with a whole different work style and a bag of tricks as far as it pertains to working in the ring?
You just said it. When it took a bump, it meant something. Less is more. Scare them, bleed, suffer, die, tell a story. That was one of the things that Abby told me. Facial expressions, don't rush. Take your time. Let people see. When he pulled that fork out of his pants, he would hide it behind his thigh, and he would walk around the ring for about 5 minutes before he even used it. But the crowd saw it. Referee never saw it.
It built the anticipation. It was tremendous. And it's like, God damn it, he's got the fucking fork. He's got the fork. Of course, the referee can't see it because he's hiding it. And so you just, with this vicious motherfucker referee, he set it up, dude.
There you go. That's what I did with the match, the thumbtacks, the light bulbs, this. So I kind of took that lesson, and I've kind of made a career out of it. Anticipation. You just said it. You got to remember that match on TV was edited, so those light bulbs were out. I pulled them out.
Right.
I swung and missed. He kicked me in the gut, slammed me. They were laying on the mat. People know, oh, fuck, who's going to get him type thing. That's why I got my back to him. He comes and gets me. I'm staggering up, walking dead. People know he's going to fucking hit me.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That's what Abby taught me. And I think it's a lost art.
And when you go back and if you watch this match on YouTube, which I'm telling you, you must watch the facial expressions of Vampiro many times just on his knees in the ring, just blowing spit out of his mouth. He's bleeding, or if he's not bleeding, but just the facials tell a fucking million stories. But back to Abby.
There's a guy I copied off of who did something similar. That he was bleeding, and he didn't tap out and he passed out on TV. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah, there's some guy with a goatee. He's down in South Texas right now. Hey,
yeah, some fucking guy like that. Yeah.
Let's talk about your in-ring style, because you had a unique moveset, and I know you're heavy into Krav Maga. So, were you studying? I guess you wouldn't call Krav Maga a martial art. What would you call it? It's hand-to-hand combat. Or Israeli combat?
Yeah, it's an Israeli combat system. It's a military system. It's a police system. Now, to sell it to the mass markets, you turn it into fitness and martial arts, right? But it is an actual system of the IDF. It's like anti-terrorism system. So how
long have you been studying and practicing that?
I'm going into my 23rd year, and I've been teaching it full time now. I got my school up here, and I've been teaching full time. I'm going on my 14th year.
But now let's talk about your athletic background into the Krav Maga moveset, and then also to your persona. Golly, before we go to that, let me ask you about how Vampiro was born, because you presented this idea to Abby.
Yeah, well, I always came to Abby, and I came to Rick Marcel was there, Gino Brito, Gino Bravo, Joe LeDuc. All these guys, and they were like, I was like, listen, man, you guys never seen a guy in wrestling who looks like Billy Idol. And that's when Billy Idol was at his moment.
Yeah. And
I had the spiky hair, and I said, you got to take a look at what I'm doing. Young people want to see a rock and roll guy. Girls will go crazy for it. And we're talking. This is back in the day when wrestlers had a big dick and were real macho, right?
Right.
And they didn't take to it at all. They didn't take to it. The only guy who took to it was Animal. I finally met the Road Warriors, and he was like, "Don't listen to these fucking guys. You believe in yourself and stick to your guns and do what you got to do. And one day, if you're true enough to yourself and you're authentic, you're more than likely going to hit a home run." But everybody else kind of laughed at it, and they were like, "No, you can't do that. You got to do this and drop kicks." And so now I don't want to learn how to fucking wrestle. I said, I'm a rock star guy, man. I moved the crowd. And they didn't get it, but somebody did eventually.
So then go ahead.
You asked me how Vampiro was born? But that's real simple. When I was growing up, like I mentioned, I was a bigger guy, and I was kind of an outcast. I couldn't relate really to any sports heroes. I was really into Kiss, like we all were, and all this alternative music was starting to happen at the time. So I kind of got into that. But the one who really moved me and identified with was the character in Bram Stoker's Dracula, the actual vampire. Just because he was different and he believed in what he believed in, people treated him like a monster. I kind of understood that. So I kind of was a fan of the vampire right around the time that it exploded. Then when I read Anne Rice's book, and this guy was a street performer, he was a musician, he was arrogant, egocentric, he was charismatic, I was like, holy fuck, I found my wrestling character.
So, and then is that when you decided, for some reason, you had this epiphany that you must go down to Mexico because that's where your destiny lies? Because you're in Montreal working, right? Well,
Montreal died, right?
Yep.
The office went out of business. That's when Marcel and Tom Zink and those guys went to WWE, WWF. Hansen was in Japan. Road Warriors were doing the Road Warrior thing. The whole company, kind of disintegrated. The unfortunate events happened with Brody in Puerto Rico. There was nowhere to go. So I asked the guy in Montreal who had originally helped me and let me set up the ring mat. And I said, listen, man, I ain't doing nothing with my life. I got to do this. He said, you can try Japan, you can go to Memphis, or you can go to Mexico. I thought about Memphis, and I was like, I ain't going to fit in there. Fucking, there's no way.
No way.
They're probably going to rape me and kill me, right? And I thought, and Japan thing, I had no contact, so I just called up the Arena Mexico one day, and some gentleman answered in English, and I said, I'm really interested in trying this. He said, well, if you make it down here, we can look at you. So I did a robbery, and I took that money and ended up in Mexico with a one-way ticket, my pack-sack, $80, and I stayed, and that was it.
So was the robbery a shoot?
Yep. Statute of limitations is over, so yeah.
But hold on, you're a guardian angel.
I am now. That was,
This back in. It's back when you're paying dues, try to get down the road. All right, dude, you've got to break this down for me. Here you come, straight out of Canada. Do you speak French as well, or just English?
English.
Okay, so you go right down into Mexico City, and you don't speak a lick of Spanish, I'm guessing. So Tell me about the transition down there, because every month when I order the UFC, I get on my phone and the voice comes on, El Primo Dos Ahora, for the Spanish-speaking people. But, dude, when you go down to Mexico, and especially way back in the day when you went in, there ain't no English translation. How'd you get by? How'd you acclimate?
Man, I showed up in Mexico City on New Year's Eve, 1989.
Jesus.
And I had a red suit, Italian suit, pointy snakeskin cowboy boots, and my Milli Vanilli hair. and I had no idea what was going on. I went to a nightclub, and the girl started screaming. I didn't know what the fuck was going on. You know, I'm just a schlep from fucking Thunder Bay, man. And all these girls were like hanging all over me, taking pictures and shit. I didn't know what was going on, but I thought it was pretty cool. I was finally going to get laid by somebody who looked really pretty, right? Because
right.
Latino girls, man. And so I kind of didn't understand. But then I found out the government and the press, Mexico for so long, there was no live music. You know, there was just their first concert. It was U2. That was after like 20 years. And then Metallica came, and then Depeche Mode came. And all of a sudden, MTV hit TV, and Guns N' Roses was there. And I showed up. So when I showed up with this look, there was a guy in they put me in the ring as a heel, as a joke. Because they said, this fucking guy, not only does he not have any ability, he doesn't even have wrestling boots. He's dressed in black leather. He's got fucking purple hair. He's full of tattoos. He looks like a fag. If he wants to be a wrestler, so put him in the ring and let's see what happens. So I came out like a vampire, and nobody talked English in the dressing room. So I just kind of said to the guys, man, I don't know what the fuck's going on. And I went in the ring, and when I stepped through the ropes, the girl started screaming.
Jesus.
And we were like, what the fuck's going on? And the building had about 6,000 people in it. The place went fucking bananas. So I was the heel. But as soon as, and I didn't know how to sell. I never taken a bump in my life. I couldn't give you a headlock today if you gave me $1 million. I never studied wrestling, man. I was just this rock and roll kid. So the fucking babyface comes off the ropes and he hits me. Boom, I take a bump. I didn't know what the fuck to do. So I roll out of the ring. And the girls grabbed me. And they put like a barricade in front of me. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Later on, we found out that the girls were protecting me from getting hit because I was too much of a pretty boy.
Right.
I was like, come on. And they thought, so we all thought it was a joke. We went back to the office the next day. We told the owner. He didn't believe me. So we did it again. This time it was fucking worse. Brother, they had women laying on top of me, starting to cry, scratching the heels and baby faces, like hitting them with their purses and shit.
Boy, that's a great problem to have. Very rare, but that's a great problem to have. Keep going. Go ahead.
Then there's me thinking, what the fuck? So I say, listen, man, I don't know what's going on. I don't have any more money to stay here. I got to go back home and get a job. If you're going to hire me, please, give me some kind of money and let me try being the babyface guy because I bet you I can do a lot better. So they said, no, you can't do this, and you got to be the heel. So we did TV. Was my first TV match. When I came out in the Arena Mexico, and there was 18,000 people there was stunned silence. Nobody said anything. And I was like, oh, man, I guess my career's over. All of a sudden, the girls started to storm the ring. They were pulling out my hair. They were ripping my clothes. They were trying to kiss me. It was fucking pandemonium. And they just turned me heel right there on TV. The heels pushed me. My teammates, toughen up. As soon as they pushed me, that was it. It was all over, man. It was like when Hulk Hogan put that finger up with the Sheik. The place went fucking ape. And I just turned my head, and I put my hair down and flipped it back, all Farrah Fawcett style.
Yeah.
And place went fucking ape. That's when they knew they had a diamond in the rough, right? And, man, I was working sometimes 30, 32 times a week for about 4 years straight, 6, 7 times a day, all over the country, man. And it was it was Beatlemania. I never took a fucking wrestling hold. I never won a match. I got the shit beat out of me. And then in the end, I would make the superhero comeback, and it was all girls, bro. And I became famous because I started dating movie actresses, not because I was a good wrestler.
Right.
So I was kind of I was a bad boy. So that was the whole story there.
So tell me about when you first rolled up there, and all of a sudden, because this is almost never happens. You show up, and it's almost like a different scenario of like when Brock Lesnar first walked into the doors at WWF. I saw that guy from afar. When you see his genetic makeup and just the look and the aura of him and his athletic prowess and background, and man, there's a guy who's a player. So here's you, a good, 6'3", 230, good-looking guy, rock star looks. You have to imagine a lot of those guys in that dressing room were thinking, oh shit, this guy's going to be something. Did you get that feeling? Because there's some savvy veterans over there. There's savvy veterans anywhere, and especially back in that day, who were highly protective of their spot. They had to sense you as a threat.
Oh, they used to beat the shit out of me all the time, every night. They didn't like me at all. Some of them were smart, and they knew that the more they worked with me, the more money they were going to make, because they got paid on a percentage basis, right? But no, they used to fuck with me, used to beat me. You know, they used to potato me in the ring, kick me in the nuts, punch me in the face, all that kind of stuff.
What about sending back receipts? Go ahead.
I didn't know anything about that, man. And I was no tough guy. I don't front, man. I was half a pussy, and I wasn't in it for that. And to be honest with you, man, I was making so much money, and I was dating some of the most famous people ever at that time in the media. I was on a different cloud, man, and I was just trying to tell these guys, look, man, we're all it's a fucking rock show, dude. You know, sooner or later my star will fade. I've seen it happen in Hollywood. And, I don't give a fuck about all this macho stuff. And these guys will try to stretch me and beat me up. That's when they hired King Haku to be my bodyguard.
No shit.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they hired Haku, and Chavo Guerrero Sr. came down. And Haku was my tag team partner. And the word was, stop fucking with me. And Haku would blast them.
Dude, I can imagine when you bring Haku in and he says don't fuck with you. You ain't got to mess with Haku one time, but you can learn a real quick lesson, and you'll never fuck with that guy again. So nope. I got to imagine you had to feel pretty protected at that point.
I did, and I was kind of catching on. I'd taken my first trip to Japan. I was starting to get comfortable, with being. I understood the responsibility that comes with being somebody like me, because I had seen it. I'd gone to school. I watched Milli Vanilli fall from grace. I've seen Andrew Dice Clay fall from grace. I watched Guns N' Roses. I watched Motley Crue. I've seen all these guys from behind the scenes as being a bodyguard. So I kind of knew how to draw the line. You know what I mean? I knew how to be the rock star guy, but I also knew how to keep it humble, because that's what I learned in Canada, right? And right. It didn't get to me. But what really bothered everybody is that I would date celebrities. And that was the crossover. That's what brought wrestling to the public eye down there, is because I started dating famous women. So I felt protected, but at the same time, I felt like this is going to implode, and I'll probably end up losing control of this, because it's going to turn into a monster, because with all this success, it's in excess, and sooner or later, all the bad things are going to come with it. And like anybody else, you're a victim to it, and I'm no angel, and I fell right into the trap. And I did feel protected, but I think my worst enemy was me, myself, and I.
When you say success came in excess and with access to everything, dude, what was your lifestyle like then? Get out on the road, go wrestle however many times a week, but then with respect to the high-profile people you were dating and hanging out with, what was the party scene like, and how heavy did you immerse yourself in that?
Pretty heavy, man, because I came from the rock and roll world. There was a movement in Mexico City at the time that was really reminiscent of the explosion of the rock and roll culture in Los Angeles and New York, what I was a fan of. So I fit right in, man, and I was in this club every day, all day, sometimes I wouldn't leave, I'd sleep there. I immersed myself in rock and roll 100%. So I didn't expect it to last, right? So I was just there, man, and I was in it pretty heavy. I ran pretty hard. I did everything that you shouldn't do, but I did it 300 more times than anybody else. You know what I mean? How I'm still here, God's blessing, because I think I had 6 or 7 or 8 overdoses, and the concussions, the broken bones, a lot of things in Mexico, the drug dealers who do the wrestling shows because they launder their money. You're fucking around with the wrong girl. Those guys don't hesitate to take you out, brother. It just is what it is, man. I fell in with the wrong crowd. I fell in with the right crowd. I tried to do the right thing, but it was such a thing, Steve, that it was so unexplainable. Because I could tell you, man, you wouldn't believe it unless you saw it. It was fucking stupid, man. The promoters would send a private plane and they'd sleep outside your hotel room door so that you'd be there at the show the next day. and it would be like Norman Smiley, Black Magic, who's working in WWE now. Ask him, he'll tell you. I'd be like, I'm not going in the fucking ring unless you give my friend the first class ticket, you give him $2,000 more, and you give me $5,000 more. It was things like that. And it was funny at the time, but it was pretty much of a dick. You know what I mean? I fell for it, and I got lost.
With respect to the party lifestyle, and you said some of the OD type situations, dude, what were you delving into? Was that the coke scene? Was it pills? What was the flavor of choice?
You know, the coke was free in Mexico for us.
Right.
You know, but I didn't really dig that because, you know, I tried it a few times and they were like, hey, you know, you just did an ounce. And I said, I don't know what that is, but it didn't really do much. So I guess I better stop or I'm going to die. Right. I was really into, the pain pills and sleeping pills because I just wanted to get away from all of this. And that was the best way to black out being Vampiro was just go numb. And I was into that in a bad way.
Man, I talked to the Patriot Del Wilkes, and he had a bad problem with pain pills, and since has gotten clean and got off. When you got into the ring against Pentagon Jr. The other day, you put yourself back in that world, back in harm's way, took some big bumps. How did you, and are you away from the pain pills now?
Yeah, well, you know, like I said, I was blessed. I got a 14-year-old daughter. I'm a single dad. When she was born, everything stopped, man. Everything. And I was at the peak of being Vampiro. So I kind of found, you know, a new reason to live life the right way. Over the years, you take pills, sleeping pills and pain pills because you're on the road and you just fucked up. You know how this business is. It's really hard, bro. You miss home. You don't eat right. You know, you're crying because you didn't get to see your daughter in her play. You didn't get to sign the report card. You got to listen to your ex-wife fucking breaking your balls. You know, your mom's getting older. You're fucked up, so you got to go to bed at night because tomorrow you got TV. So you take something, you wake up the next day, you take something else. I got to the point, man, where, you know, I had to get away from the world of wrestling because it was going to kill me. All my friends, our generation, how many young guys are dead because of this bullshit? And I didn't want to become another statistic, so I had to make a life choice, right? I wanted to be a good dad, and, you know, the business already was one of the reasons I lost my marriage. Drug use didn't help. And there is no exit plan, so I thought, fuck, I'm either going to be 6 feet under or I got to straighten some shit out. So I weaned myself off all of that kind of stuff, and I'm going to tell you now, man, everybody said don't do it because you're fucking crazy. You're only going to hurt yourself more. You know, because the broken back, the broken neck, the knees, the shoulders, you got it. We all got it, bro. I started powerlifting. I can't fucking believe it. I started powerlifting, like picking up stupid amounts of weights, like 500, 600, 700 pounds. And I'm injury-free, drug-free, no more insomnia, no more ringing in the head from all the chair shots. It's all good, baby.
Hey, let me tell you something. You got time to stick around for another hour?
Fuck yeah.
Okay, I'm sitting there talking.
That would be yes in English or sí in Espanol. I'm
sitting here talking to Vampiro, and we're going to go back to all things Lucha Libre, Mexico, Conan, Great Muta, a big influence on his style inside the ring, Krav Maga, and so many of the legendary performers he got a chance to work with. I'm coming back next week right here on the Steve Austin Show Unleashed with the one and only Vampiro. Vampiro, I'll catch you on the other side.
Yeah, baby.
This has been a PodcastOne production. Download new episodes of The Steve Austin Show every Tuesday at PodcastOne.com. That's PodcastOne.com.
All month long on Pluto TV, stream the biggest Tyler Perry movies free. Watch your favorites like Medea's Witness Protection and Medea's Big Happy Family. Join Tyler Perry as he goes on a couples retreat with Sharon Leal in Why Did I Get Married? Or Idris Elba and Gabrielle Union in the Tyler Perry directed film Daddy's Little Girls. Plus, Pluto TV has hundreds of channels with thousands more movies and TV shows. Available on live and on demand. Download the free Pluto TV app on all your favorite devices and start streaming now. Pluto TV. Drop in, watch free.
What's up, everybody? It's All-Star and World Series champ Nick Swisher here, and I'm stoked to tell you about my new podcast, The Nick Swisher Show, right here on PodcastOne. If you know me, you know I've worn a lot of hats in my career, and each one of them has had highs, lows, and a whole lot of learning in between. And that's exactly what I'm bringing to this podcast. You're going to get crazy interviews with athletes from their struggles to their successes and all their unbelievable superstitions along the way. You're going to hear from hometown heroes that are stepping up to the plate and making positive change and influences in their communities. I mean, we've got scientists, coaches, comedians. I'm telling you, whether you're an athlete, a parent, a coach, or just looking for a little energy in your life, then Home Plate is right here. It's old school soul with new school vibes. It's the Nick Swisher Show, coming soon wherever you get your podcasts.
Yo, what's good? It's your boy, Big Brother Jake, a.k.a. Jake Warner, my government name. Check it out. I host a show called the Big Brother Jake Podcast, and I've taken my talents to the biggest and baddest platform on the planet. That's right, baby, PodcastOne. My show is unique as I talk about everything. Life, sports, entertainment, being a single dad juggling several jobs. I'm a hot mess, but it's damn entertaining. Subscribe and review now on Apple Podcasts and listen on PodcastOne or wherever you get your podcasts.